The cafe was quiet that morning, filled only with the faint hum of soft jazz and the steady drizzle tapping against the glass. A girl stood behind the counter, her hands trembling slightly as she wiped down the espresso machine. Her apron was worn, her shoes scuffed, and her eyes carried a tiredness far too old for her 21 years. But behind those dark, patient eyes lived a story the world had yet to hear, one of silence, dignity, and a strength she never bragged about. And on that rainy Tuesday morning, fate decided it was time for that story to speak for itself. If you believe that kindness and humility always find their way back to those who carry them, then please, take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. Because what you're about to hear might just change the way you see people forever. Her name was Amira. She had come to this small coastal town 2 years ago, a refugee from a country most people couldn't find on a map. She didn't talk much. Customers often assumed she didn't speak English at all because she would only smile, nod, and quietly point at the menu when someone spoke too fast for her to follow. Most days, that smile was her only armor, a fragile wall between her bruised past and the cruel impatience of the world around her. Amira worked double shifts, 6 days a week, saving every cent she earned to send home to her younger brothers, who were still living in a refugee camp. Her dream wasn't big, she just wanted to study, to build a life where words didn't hurt and silence didn't feel like a cage. But dreams, for people like her, always seemed to be written in languages the world refused to understand. Then, one morning, he walked in. Arthur Hayes. A millionaire real estate developer who treated humility like it was an infection. His watch was worth more than Amira would make in a year, and his voice carried the kind of arrogance that made everyone in the cafe straighten their backs a little. He was a regular, loud, demanding, and painfully proud of his wealth. He enjoyed attention the way others enjoyed air. That day, he sat by the window, scrolling through his phone as he waited for his coffee. When Amira came to take his order, she spoke softly. Her English was careful, slow, and accented. Arthur smirked as if he had just been handed the opportunity for sport. "So you're the new girl, huh?" he said, leaning back. "Do you even understand me? Or do I have to use hand signals?" She blinked, unsure how to respond, but her lips curved into a polite smile. "I understand, sir. What would you like?" Arthur chuckled, loud enough for the nearby tables to hear. "Tell you what," he said, grinning, "serve me in English for the next 5 minutes, and I'll give you $1,000. He laughed as if it were a joke, a cruel one. "Let's see if you can even hold a proper conversation." The cafe grew silent. A few customers shifted uncomfortably. Amira froze for a second, her cheeks warming, not from embarrassment but from the quiet sting of being mocked in public. She wanted to walk away, but something inside her, something small and fierce, told her not to. She placed the cup gently in front of him, lifted her eyes, and said softly, "Would you like that in American English, British English, or perhaps Australian English?" Arthur blinked. The smirk faltered for just a second. Before he could respond, she continued, her voice steady, her accent shifting flawlessly. "Or maybe in French," she said, her tone melting into soft, perfect Parisian vowels. "Oh, peut-être préférez-vous le français, monsieur?" The cafe went completely still. Then, she switched again, Italian this time, fluid and melodic. "Oh, forse l'italiano? E la lingua dell'amore, no?" Arthur's eyes widened. A faint chuckle escaped the crowd. Amira wasn't done. She moved gracefully to Arabic, her mother tongue, each word carrying rhythm and pride. Then Spanish, light and crisp like wind through open doors. By the time she returned to English, Arthur's coffee had long gone cold. "I can serve you in 5 languages, sir," she said quietly. "But kindness is a language everyone understands. You don't have to pay me to speak it." The room erupted in quiet gasps, a few claps breaking through the silence. Arthur looked like a man suddenly stripped bare, the smugness draining from his face as quickly as the color in his cheeks. He reached for his wallet, stammering something about being impressed, but Amira only shook her head. "You don't owe me anything," she said, walking away. "Just, maybe respect." For the rest of that week, Arthur Hayes didn't return to the café. Word of the incident spread through town, first as gossip, then as admiration. People began to see Amira differently. She wasn't the quiet foreign girl anymore. She was the woman who stood up for herself with grace, who taught a millionaire the most expensive lesson of his life without taking a single cent. But fate, it seemed, wasn't done weaving their stories together. A month later, the cafe manager announced that the business was closing. Rent had gone up, and there wasn't enough money to keep it running. Amira felt her world collapse. She had no savings to fall back on. She'd have to leave the town, maybe even the country. She packed her things quietly, not wanting anyone's pity. Then, one evening, as she locked the cafe doors for the last time, a sleek black car pulled up outside. The window rolled down, and there he was, Arthur Hayes. Only this time, his face wasn't wearing arrogance. It was wearing guilt. He stepped out, holding an envelope in his hand. "Amira," he said softly. "You taught me something that day. I've built buildings all over the world but never built any bridges. I came to fix that." She hesitated, uncertain, as he handed her the envelope. Inside was a letter, and a scholarship document for a full degree in linguistics at a university. Paid in full. On the corner, a note in messy handwriting read, "For the girl who speaks the world's truest language, dignity." Tears welled in Amira's eyes. For the first time in years, she didn't hide them. "Why?" she whispered. Arthur smiled faintly. "Because you reminded me that wealth means nothing if you can't speak the language of humanity." Years later, Amira became a translator for the United Nations. She helped bridge voices between countries divided by politics and pain. Every time she stepped on stage, every time she translated words of hope and peace, she remembered that rainy morning, the laughter, the humiliation, and the moment she found her voice. And somewhere in that same coastal town, an old man sat by the cafe window, the same window where he once mocked a girl. This time, he ordered quietly, smiled at the new waitress, and left a generous tip. He had learned, at last, that true fluency begins with respect. If this story touched your heart, please share it with someone who believes in the power of kindness, respect, and second chances. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Kindness Corner for more real-life stories that remind us of what it truly means to be human. Speech balloon comment below, what language do you believe the world needs to learn most, love, empathy, or forgiveness?